Okay. Um, Today I was going to make a slideshow on this,
Mm-hmm.
but it just didn't materialize. And then maybe a couple of days ago, I was thinking what I'd really like to do is discuss this. And I'm not sure if it will just be us today or if other people will join us. I haven't heard. So maybe you and I can discuss this. And that is the concept that that the one rule is a sufficient rule, that 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 if you use the one rule, and one I was going to talk a little bit about using it in the past, and and if you have any Sera's here. Hi, Sera.
Hi, Sarah.
Batool had just asked me about what I had for today, and I was explaining that I had this thought that I want to have us go over, and maybe the way I've seen it, because as I would focus on it during the week, it's almost like something inside of me was saying, hold off until the show. Because I told Batul I was going to make a slideshow on this. And during the week, it just wasn't happening. Other things were coming up that needed um, my attention and focus and activity. And then during the week, there was this thought of hold off until the show, and we will all just discuss this. And it's the concept that the one rule is sufficient, at least. And that's what one of the things I want to discuss in terms of parents and children, or grandparents and grandchildren, um, that the one rule is sufficient unto itself. It doesn't need other things to supplement it and help it work. Um, so this is something I would like to explore. And you have often brought up, Sera, adults like in workplaces and stuff like that, using the one rule. Now, the thing that of my approach that I've always felt was important was because the importance was in terms of motivation. Because when I started this, um, this was definitely not an approach. In when I would go into bookstores, the books on parenting were all about um, discipline, control, punishment, and there weren't very many. There weren't very many authors, and there weren't very many books. And so So I guess that's kind of where an emphasis came of that, the love that a parent has for a child is enough motivation to make, if something comes along that says, you know, this is really good, like this, like the one rule now. When I was doing it before, I had the concept of the power of respect. And but I like the one rule better. I think it's clear, more efficient, more helpful, because some people would get confused in terms of what I meant by respect and what they meant by respect. It was kind of a confusing thing, but the one rule in terms of finding agreement between yourselves is not confusing. Now getting to it, I've heard some things that it may be, but that's kind of one of the things I want to address today. Maybe all of us can put some talk about it. There was also the thought of why somebody would want to use it, but I don't want to get caught into that as much as that using it, deciding to use it and using it is enough, that it has built into it enough to move people along to finding harmonious relationships. And now I'm sure of that would between parents and children, or grandparents and grandchildren. I'm sure of that. But I want to tell a couple of things, a couple of stories about it. In terms of adults and adults, it may be also, I don't know, I have not explored it as thoroughly as I said last time. My work is specifically children and, well, parents, but actually it needs to extend to their, where they spend a lot of time, or they used to spend a lot of time, which was in educational situations. And it needs to be there also. So that's an interesting thought I hadn't had during the week, that this agreement thing, before it was, as I said, the power of respect and having, I think teachers can relate to that. Of course, some of them hadn't practiced it. But I think the one rule is even clearer, as I said. Okay, so the first story I wanted to tell, which you may know already, but was kind of like one of the major starting points for this whole thing, was with my own children. And they were all young. The youngest was maybe just 2. And I found myself trying to make them do something, like yelling at them in the kitchen. And all of a sudden it was like, I'm done with this. This is not happening anymore. And I apologized. I told them I would never try to force them to do what they didn't want to do. And then I asked what I could do to help them feel good. And because they were like, you could see in their eyes that they were upset by what was going on, what I was doing, what I was saying. And so my youngest daughter wanted to go out in the car, and my oldest daughter wanted, since we were going out in the car, wanted to go visit people we hadn't seen for a long time. And that was it. I kept that kind of vow to them for the rest of the time. And it kind of, I would say, is very connected with the one rule, which is that we'll find agreement, because I can't ever remember an instance where I agreed to do something that felt awful to me, even though the yelling certainly felt awful to me. It's just, I guess I was raised that way, and stresses of life and whatever, but I got into that. I didn't start that way, but I got into it. And so that was my first using of what I would call the one rule. And as I've looked back in my book, harmony is a big part of what I was accomplishing. Not just with my own children, because I realized at one point, and I remember when it happened, that I needed to learn to treat all the children that came through my life with the same quality of care that I gave my own children. The other story I wanted to share in terms of the one rule was fairly soon after this concept of the one rule came to me. My youngest daughter and her son, my grandson, were visiting, and he wanted to watch something on the tablet or on the TV, I'm not sure. But my daughter didn't feel comfortable about him having so much screen time. And so he came to me, can you put on the TV or whatever it was he wanted. And so I explained the situation to him, like how she felt and what he wanted and how I felt about the situation. And that it kind of put me in the middle, because I didn't want to do something that would upset her, which means she wouldn't agree with it, or that would upset him, which means he wouldn't agree with it, or that I wouldn't like. And so, like, instantly, he came up with another idea, which was if I would play cards with him. So we played fish and other kid games like that. And he wanted to make up his own rules as we went along. So we did, and that worked out fine. And my daughter was totally fine with it. He was fine with it, and I was fine with it. So to me, there was an example, and it happened really, as I said, soon after this whole concept came about. So I'm just wondering if either of you have any thoughts about this. My thinking on this, my feeling on this, is that if people know the one rule and it sounds good to them, they want to try it, that alone, sticking to the one rule, which is why it's a rule, instead of just a guideline, which had been my tendency in the past, was to deal with guidelines so that it could be flexible. But this one is not flexible, it's a rule. And that is that you find agreement. And the form of the agreement, that can vary depending on who's involved and what the issue is. But the fact that you find agreement is what doesn't vary. And so I would really like to hear your input on this, if you have some.
What I have observed related to one rule is, first of all, in education system as well, when you're working with your colleagues and with your boss, whatever, when you decide something and if everyone agrees, they show motivation in it. They all are pleased to work because they take the responsibility. So luckily, we also have the same way. Mr. Yasser actually discuss everything with us, and he tries to make everyone happy. This is like he is trying, always he tries that. He listens to my ideas, then he's going to discuss with others. Then we sit together, we call others, and we, come to a conclusion. And finally, then we come to a point at which we know that we all are agreeing to this thing. So I believe taking maybe doing one rule is also something in which every person takes the responsibility also, in which they are responsible. So that is something also we learn.
Right.
So, and as a mom, I would say that from the very beginning, I did not put any rules on my son. Maybe because at that time I was unaware with one rule, but maybe somehow I was following the same track. I can say like this. But the concept of one rule was not there with me, obviously, at that time, since I met you. So I used to, we used to talk about what is your mood, what do you like to eat right now. Still, we do that. That what's your plan? What do you want? He asked me, what do I want? And then we, talk together and come to a final conclusion. Let's order this. Okay. Or okay, fine. You want this thing, you have to do like this, and then you get it. This is how he agrees, and I believe in my heart also I feel satisfied that my son happily agreed for this thing. It's not I'm forcing any law.
Right.
The time when he was now he's adult almost, he's 18, going to be 18 in June. So the time from his childhood time, I've been talking to him on and off. We discussed things together, like age wise, whatever the age was. And I know that if this rule is there, and that the child knows that the mom is listening, he comes to you, he shares with you. So I can say in this way, Touchwood, that I'm lucky that my son shares with me everything. He knows that mom is there to listen. I'm more a friend to him than a mom. And I have been the teacher, like I have even taught him in his class. I have taught his friends also. So the whole group respect me as a teacher as well, and a close friend. So they share their family issues also with me sometimes. If they find to discuss, they know that Miss Batool is there, so she will listen to us. Like, let's discuss. She's just like a mom to us. It's a compliment for me when I hear this thing that you are like a mom to me. So it gives me feeling that I have achieved something. That feeling is just countless. It's a blessing, I feel like, when people show love like this to you. So one rule is very important. Yes, and I agree with you completely that taking, like, just doing respect is different, because respect you have to do. If you respect someone, it's obviously that is your nature. That is something in ethics also you have to follow. You have to show respect. It's come in the category of ethics also. Give respect and gain respect. But one rule is something where your own personality is there, in which you don't kill your own personality, in which you are a part of it. So I believe your home is the first place where this one rule can start with. Because obviously, I can't expect, if I go to a friend's house, obviously, if she has a different lifestyle, she won't change her lifestyle just because of me. I have to adjust it before going to her house. I have to, agree myself also that there might be certain things. Maybe if I sleep early, she does not. Then I have, if I'm there, she might like she may like me also to wake up late for her, whatever it is. So before even going to her house, I have to agree myself that now I am a guest, so I have to be, make her comfortable. She is going to make me comfortable, so I am also going to, so I believe house is the first place. Your own family, your own house is the first place where this rule can easily be implemented if we try.
Right.
And then you get to know, practice, and then you slowly, you can expand with friends and all. And friendship obviously follows one rule. A good friend always will listen to you, will, share his or her views. So friendship is with one rule together for me.
Right. Interesting.
This is like what, like, because I know my friend, she is my best friend, she is in Canada, one is in London. I know, even after 2 years, or maybe after 7 weeks or 7 months, or after long year, even if I call her, she won't complain me. She understands me. She knows what my routine is. I understand her, but still we are best friends. There is some feeling I get to know that she needs me, and I just give her a WhatsApp, hey, are you okay? And then she just replies me, how do you know?
Hmm.
And then we start talking. Same with me. She sees,
Right.
like, if I'm, disturbed or something, she messages me, hey, you are okay? I saw you in my dream. Then I, no, I'm okay. No, no, there's something wrong. And then we start talking. This is the love connection is there. This is the friendship connection which God has created in our hearts. So one rule
Nice.
is amazing. One rule is very amazing. Love of a grandfather with the grandchild is nature. Wherever the child will come to grandparents. This is given by God. This love is given by God, by nature to them. This is very strong.
That's,
These are my views I shared with you.
Okay. Thank you.
and Batool, that's very similar to what we talk about in Women's Federation.
Mm-hmm,
We talk about leadership of the heart, but we
mm-hmm.
talk about the family as the school of love.
Yeah,
And that is the different realms of the heart, that the child's love for parents, the child's heart, the four great realms of heart. And like parental love. Well, first a child's love for parents, but then a sibling's love for each other, and then husband and wife conjugal love for each other, and then a
yes,
parental heart, a parental love. So those realms of heart, those our heart develops these different realms of love. So I feel like the one rule when we talk about the parental heart, that parental realm of heart, it's just very much um, like you were saying, very natural. It comes from God.
yeah,
And I think when Karen puts it into this kind of a context of education and curriculum, I feel it's really, really wonderful because it's, um, that's what the parent's heart is doing. It's like when you reach that point, Karen, when you're just like, wait a minute, this isn't happening. You know,
Mm.
this is
Right.
not. They, my precious children, their hearts are being, completely blown out of the water here, and
That's
that's not
right.
going to happen anymore.
Right.
And and I feel like what you were saying about how have we experienced it in our lives. Um, when my husband and I were in Brazil, it wasn't my culture and it wasn't his culture. My husband's Japanese, and so we made this whole world of agreement in our house, you know, as far as what do we do Japanese way? What do we do American way? What do we do
Wow.
Brazilian way? So our kids, you know, we were all really agreeing on everything we did, food we eat, the clothes, the how we clean the house and different things. So and I feel like that's a really natural way to be. And the the thing that was interesting to me is like when you first started this morning and talking about uh, wait until the show, you know, and
Yeah.
because when I was preparing to come, I was really thinking, I was meditating, and I was thinking about the one rule. I was thinking about, okay, we're talking about education every week, and these women are amazingly, wonderfully committed to creating a better uh, way for children, for our world. We're in different parts of the world. Batool, you're in Pakistan right now.
Yeah, I'm
Is
in
that right?
Pakistan.
We're so
Yeah.
blessed with technology, but here we
Yes.
are, really discussing every week and really trying to bring about something that is going to impact the children, impact parents, impact families, make families stronger, make children stronger people, um, more like integrated kind of person, very integrated. Their self-esteem, their their confidence, their level of achievement is so different. Like what you were saying, Batul, when people agree on something, whether it's in a boardroom meeting or whether it's in a classroom or in the kitchen table, then the person feels like they can own it. They're so motivated to do
Yes.
something, to take that
True.
responsibility, that
Yeah.
they are part of it. I loved what you said about the difference between respect and the rule of harmony, one rule. Because respect, it can be an obligation, it can be a cultural um, structure, but it's something that's imposed on me by
Yes.
something else. But this is when we really have a vested interest, and it's really, I'm part of it. I'm really part of it. It is part of me. So I had this, when I was preparing to come on and I was meditating, I was feeling like, okay, I understand. I mean, I would like to know more deeply about Montessori. Where does Montessori, I feel like it's really from a foundation of Montessori, because I know not very deeply about Montessori. I know Montessori a little bit externally. I mean, all I've done is really, I've I've worked at a Montessori school and I've seen it in action, and I've just seen it as a very natural way of educating children. And I didn't see, where is the one rule not in Montessori, or is it everywhere in Montessori?
It the only time I would say, because I hadn't thought of them together. But when you brought it up right now, my mind started connecting. I would say that, see, because my Montessori training was from someone that actually lived in her household. He was, his mother and Maria Montessori were good friends, and she wanted someone as a companion for her son. And so Mr. Yostin, that's how I knew him, he moved into their household when he was 14. And he's the one of the important parts of my training. Most people, of course, didn't have him as a trainer unless you lived in India. So even though I would say a lot of the one rule is built in to Montessori, and if you go by what I learned, it's definitely part of it, because one thing is, you don't insist that the children do anything. You invite them, and you learn how to invite them in a way where it's easy to go with the invitation, but if you don't really want to, it still is an invitation to try something. It's never forced, but it depends on the Montessori teacher. We were actually even taught that the concept of teacher is not the thing, that we are just the adults in the environment. We are not in charge. We are we would sit like not, we wouldn't be up wandering around. We would have our place, just like the different materials had their place, the different activities. They each one would have their own place. And so the adult in the environment was supposed to have their own place, and the children would come to you if they needed you. So I would say it's in a way it's very built into Montessori, as long as the adult follows the Montessori guidelines that were like I learned. That would be the only thing. If they stuck to the, you know, the teacher standing tall in the environment and being in charge and calling out like across the room, hey, you stop, you know, or whatever, so that their presence was big in the room, then that was really important, an important aspect. And
Was
it's
that
kind
big
of like, oh,
presence? What was that big presence a positive thing?
no,
Right. It wasn't like it
no,
changed the whole behavior of the children.
yes, yes. And I had a little lesson in that once. One, I remember one day, the atmosphere there was just like, kind of like, all the children were engaged in activities. They were, everybody was busy. There was like a hum, but it was a quiet, everybody focused, or maybe they were working together, but whether they were working together or alone, there was a focus going on of all the children. And I don't remember exactly why I felt motivated to do something, but I did. And I could feel the change, just by my wanting to instigate something. And so I pulled back, and it took a few minutes, but it went back to that focused hum. And it was like, there was nothing for me to do. I just sat there and observed what was going on, because that is the other thing we're to do, is as keen observation of things as we can.
Not imposing your will.
No,
Yeah, I've
no,
felt that as well.
yeah.
Just in my own
Okay,
house.
well, any Montessori environment where that is the practice, I would say is in line with, okay, this is the between the adults and the children. Now, between the children and children, I'm not sure. I guess that varies from Montessori school to Montessori school. Even though school is not the word we were taught to use, it's just an environment. It's their workplace, and we're there as assistants to that developmental work that they're doing, to help the best happen for them moment by moment. And I have noticed, now this is built into Montessori too, I have noticed when a child was able to connect, let's say, especially with a new child, that when they were able to find something that grabbed them, that was fascinating to them, that engaged them on a really deep level, then they transformed. And so maybe in a way, the one rule is really built into Montessori. I never thought that before. But when they transform, they become a peaceful, cooperative member of the community. And especially once those two girls taught me what I now call the one rule, but I didn't in those days. I didn't know. I didn't have that concept. But once it became known through a few of the children that that I was going to make sure that we found mutually agreeable solutions to things, it's like it took over. I gave very few demonstrations of this with children, and then the cooperative element just pretty much took over, except, as I say, occasionally I remember one new boy in particular who, well, actually a couple of them. Okay, one was a little boy. His father was very harsh with him. But once he became fascinated with the whole world of insects, he transformed. He totally let go of aggressive behavior toward anybody and became a peaceful member of the community, and enjoying himself and being part of everybody, enjoying being around him too. And I think I told this story of I had stopped working at Children's House and was in the process of writing my first book. And I was asked to come back because there was one little girl who her aunt worked at Children's House. So it would, and it was like it was a rural situation. Everybody knew everybody kind of thing. And so it wasn't like we could comfortably say, well, she can't come, because she was hurting other children. Like she would hit them and other things like that. So they asked me if I would come and see what I could do. And so for 2 weeks, I was like her shadow. We hung out together all the time. And so I started giving her new ways, and the other children, and just having me there, it made a difference in her life. And she was able to interact and figure out on her own how to interact with other people in ways that feel good to them. And after a couple of weeks, she did a really interesting thing. She had me, we climbed up in the climbing structure, and it was a cold day. I had a big coat on, and she climbed through my coat, like in one side and out the other, almost like she was birthing herself, is what it felt like. And after that, I got a call from the head teacher saying, don't come in anymore. She's fine. And it's almost like I felt like she had taken a new, she birthed herself again. And she was like a new person now. And she got along with everybody. There was no more problems with her. She didn't, I guess, feel problems in herself that she projected out on other people, or for whatever reason, everything went smoothly with her after that.
So you feel that I feel like you just were as like I, I think when, because it would be really nice to know exactly what happened so that people who want that to happen can understand what has made it happen in other people.
Well, I think,
It's like the idea of like you being there as a second reflective agent, where she would do something and you would kind of help her reflect on what she did, and that it actually made somebody else uh, feel good or feel bad. And so, like that shadowing, and
yeah,
that, because like you're saying, if she began to feel okay in herself, then uh, um, she was not communicating things that were hurting her inside to others, making them hurt,
right. Well, one thing that I did was I made sure that she didn't hurt anybody, because I would sense if something were coming and would direct her in another way. I never had to like restrain her or anything like that. Just be uh, like a force to focus some other way, or give her words, um, like to ask if she could play, or I could ask for her, or um,
Yeah, so it was an extra thought process, not actually reflecting because you didn't wait for something bad to happen.
no,
But it was like an extra
never.
like you could give her a different way to think about, joining in or wanting to play with something that somebody else was playing with, but she could tell she wanted it, and you need to think about how I can have that, or maybe I can have it later, or is there a line that other people are going to have that next, and when is going to be my turn? I mean, that kind of thing. You could, what I was thinking is that that's something that somehow we can do. And then, like, when you're talking about the 2 year olds, that age of will, that discovery of willpower, and how to give them, preemptively an idea that can express their will, but in a good way, in not a harmful way, to themselves or
Or
to
others,
the environment. Yeah.
right?
So I was just wondering about, because it seemed to me like the one rule is a really good way of putting Montessori in a nutshell and introducing it into other environments, or introducing it as a component for another um, setting, where it might not be a Montessori environment. But even when you're in a structured curriculum, how to find something that the child is able to engage with, you know, able to able to at least recognize the benefit that maybe mathematics is going to have for his future. I'm talking about older environments, or so that's
Right.
what I was trying to think about is, okay, Montessori, this is a very natural uh, um, tool, but how is this tool, like I said before, in other environments, just trying to think about this, or do you think that it's better to, and Batul also, I was wondering what you feel, do you feel like this one rule is something that is it's more helpful to analyze or discuss or try to implement in a preschool environment, or with or your younger children grade school environment, and um, don't try to apply it other places? I just want to know, like, the most um, I gotta say, effective place that this could
Yeah.
be used, and is it something to talk about later on, about it being, because it seems so easy, so natural to apply in a number of places.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
is it really in the best interest of people to
uh,
just focus on one area?
you are absolutely right, because in education this should be implemented irrespective of the fact whether it's Montessori, play group, or let's say uh, elementary level or secondary level, because students usually ask this question: why are we studying this? Why are we studying history? Why are we studying geography? I have no interest in geography. What will I do with the weather report? What will I do with what happened in the history? Then I have to, explain them that why are we studying, motivate them. But what if this thing has been done earlier? Like, there should be, before a class starts, I believe there should be a counseling session for every student, where teachers and parents and the students should sit together and talk about the subjects that we are teaching this topic, and this topic actually we are teaching because of this reason, and the child like has the right to question the teacher at that time, that how this topic is going to help us. Then the teacher has to speak about it and even tell the parents that we are teaching your kids these things, because when children know actually the importance, then only they will learn also. And it's just not about learning question answer, filling up the notebooks, or filling up, nowadays students usually see answers in the Google and they just copy paste the answers. There's no research work done, because their answers are being given by Google, and they're so smart they change the sentences even, that the teachers can't even pick them up, that they have copy paste or something. They are so smart. They know this thing, like the teacher how is going to, they look into the sentences, they will fit some other names into it or change here and there, subject into object and object into work. They're very smart. But I believe this is a very important question to address, that we have to talk to the kids, we have to tell them the importance of this thing. We cannot implement everything as a burden to them. They should enjoy learning. They should know, like, why, for example, if you're studying about earthquakes, then why earthquakes matter. This is a natural disaster. You should know about the safety. It can happen anywhere, any place. So give examples, show with them. I remember I was teaching a student. And he was very upset with this topic of earthquake, and he said, what's so interesting in earthquake, and it just happened, and buildings collapse and blah blah, these types of things. Well, why should I care about it? It's not happening here. Then I said, for God's sake, don't say like this. Then I told him some incidents, then he searched, and I showed him some videos, and he was so excited to see. And then he started researching himself. Really, this happened, this is how it happened. And then the interest was developed in the lesson, that, oh, okay, this is a recent earthquake, okay, this is. So I mean, it's a very important topic that parents, teachers, students, they should be on one platform. Then only I think so successful and happy learning will be there. Because sometimes teachers keeps on running and giving assignments, and students think this is of no use, and I don't know why our teacher is giving so much, and they're complaining. Similarly, sometimes parents complain, sometimes parents think that their teachers are not looking into this topic. There are many things, I think so. There should be proper sessions, meetings where one rule can be discussed and introduced on all levels, in every institute, whether it's an educational institute, even a working atmosphere place also. Because in professional life you see colleagues having a professional jealousy with one another. This happens, that they think, like, usually it's said that professional life you don't have friends, you have just partners, and they just cross you, blah blah, these types of things. But if we talk about one rule in the professional atmosphere also, they will learn that pulling leg of each other won't work. If you are going to work together, then the company is going to progress. The company is going to progress. Each one of you will get back. Because limited, like alone, your progress will not help. How long will you progress alone? Nothing can be achieved alone. But together, yes, you can reach to a very high level. And I
Right.
believe women play a very important role in this one role, because they are the main pillars right now in the one role, in their families also, raising their children also, running their relationship also, looking after their parents also, sometimes their uh, father-in-law, sister-in-laws, and like everywhere. I believe women are the main pillar, and they plays a significant role. Without women, the one rule cannot work. Well, this is my belief. I believe a lot about women, support and strength. So this is what I believe, that one rule can be implemented if women together united and decides together. Then obviously they are the boss of their houses also. They can talk to their husbands also. They can talk to their children about it. So this one rule magic will work.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. I believe that's really important, Batool, what you just said, because that's mostly what our women's leadership focuses on, is how women are naturally or traditionally the harmonizers in the home.
Mm. Yeah.
And when we understand that women have a different way of leading, and we stop trying to act like men, like you were saying, this kind of professional jealousy. Of course, women can be more jealous than anybody, but
Yeah.
um, what I'm saying is, like, uh, when we tap into our feminine abilities to really nurture everybody around us, whether it's in the
Yes.
corporate atmosphere or the school or the retail market, when we're really nurturing our customers or really nurturing our suppliers, then people are really happy and they really feel good about the job that they're doing and how they're playing an important role. And as women leaders, we can really give people that kind of nourishing support, and at the same time, we know when something's done correctly, and as far as a high standard, we want people to improve, but we don't do it in a way that's going to cut them down, but in the other way
Right.
is more like building them up. So
And the thing about the one rule is if they are giving their input, then they are part of deciding how this is going to unfold.
True.
And so that they can say, well, this way of doing it really feels good to me. And so it's because what you're
Yeah.
going to end up with is something so much better than any one person could put out
Yes,
there. It's
exactly. So
just
it's
full and rich and
Yeah.
yes.
exciting and all the good things for all the people that are involved.
So that you're able to embrace that idea or input and not have your ego get stepped on. You know, it's not
True.
Right,
about one person's
Yeah.
ego. It's
right.
Yeah.
about what everybody is going to be so much better off with. So I'm
Yes,
willing and uh, excited to hear from other people, you know, so that we can embrace that and let
yes,
that happen
right.
without worrying about, oh, it was my idea or not. You know, it's not about an ego. Yeah.
Or if it is, it's part of the harmony of the whole, because it's fine that that's, like you come up with the idea. I don't need to be the one, right? Like right now, all three of us are giving our input. And because we are, it's a much richer experience than if just one of us did. I mean, it might be great, but I think having each of us put in makes it fuller and richer and better. So
I really like what Batul said about a counseling session before every class, before the child starts to study that subject. I think that's a tremendous aid. You know, I think it's just such a good way to start something out.
the thing is that the teacher could also get some really good ideas from the students and the parents
Yes.
about how to put this out there in a way. I mean, like just a brief thing. What one of my classes in middle school in East LA, one of the assistants had, her background was drama, and and we all decided we were putting on to put on a play of the Pilgrims and Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving, and the kids, they made all out of paper. Uh, they made the sets and costumes and put on a play, and it got filmed. And so they were learning about a time of history and what happened, but they were living it too in a way. Anyway, so input.
You could use her abilities, yeah.
And the kids, like, they liked that a lot.
Thank you so much.
Ah, yes,
And
it
I
is
think,
time.
yeah, thank you so much. It was lovely, and we all agree also. Here's also one rule going on.
Right.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Miss
thank
Karen. Thank
you.
you. Take
Thank you
care.
both.
Take care, both of you.
Have a
Thank you.
good
God
week.
Thank
bless.
you, Karen. Thank you, Batul.
Thank
Thank you
Okay,
so
you,
much.
Sarah. Okay, bye bye.
bye.
Bye-bye.
God bless you. Bye.